Hello. Good afternoon to you. My name is Ray Hazlip, and this is another episode, number 34 actually, of Games Analysis and Producer Perspectives. It's a rough day today. It is July 6, 2026, and today is a very rough day today. Last time we talked in the podcast a couple of days ago, we were talking about Sony and how they've lost their dang minds and decided the impoopification needed to come for them, and they are wanting to stop producing physical media, Blu-rays, for their video game hardware. That was a very bad announcement. Had a lot to say about that. And it's not great. It could mean that physical media as we know it in the Blu-ray format is on a clock, an actual clock, and that clock dings on January 2028. We're not talking about that today. That's already bad. We're talking about Microsoft laying off 4,800 people. So, before we get to that, uninterrupted, I'm going to go ahead and get the ad break just out of the way right now. We'll just go do that. Then we're going to dive deep into that specific bit of news, and we're going to talk business. Okay? Okay, we'll be back. Do you like drinking coffee? Of course you do. You're listening to this podcast. That's pretty much most people listening to this love drinking coffee. What you want to drink, though, is locally sourced and sustainable coffee. How about some coffee where every time you make a purchase of it, 5% of all of its sales go back to charities to go ahead preserve the great outdoors? How about a coffee that only works with local farmers? Coffee that gives you a great taste. So thanks to today's sponsor, that is going to be Afuera Coffee. You can go to afueracoffee.com and you can order some specially sourced, single sourced actually, sourced from the Rainforest Alliance Farms in Central and South America, coffee beans, ground or whole beans, and get that delivered straight to your house. You want to use my promo code RHAZE, that's RHAZE, at afueracoffee.com. Order yourself some coffee, and they're going to give you 15% off just for using that promo code. Go ahead, get yourself some coffee, and enjoy it knowing that you're giving a little bit back to the environment. So you know what I like? I like energy drinks. I take them every time right before I work out. And what I don't like about energy drinks is when you do take them, you do have a caffeine crash right after them. And so I'm always shopping around for different energy drinks that will give me a better caffeine high, as it were, maybe a more natural high. So we got today's sponsor, Aspire Drinks. If you want to go to aspiredrinks.com, what they give you is healthy energy that delivers balanced, crash-free 80 milligrams of natural green tea caffeine. They are sugar-free, and they come in a variety of delicious flavors. They will keep you refreshed and focused all day long. Now, as a new sponsor of this show, they are giving an exclusive discount when you are at the checkout. Enter the promo code RHAZE, and it's like Ray Hayes. Yeah, RHAZE at aspire.com when you order some energy drinks. You could just buy a pack for yourself or just make a subscription if you've already had them before. Once again, these are gluten-free, keto-friendly, soy-free, vegan, and kosher natural energy drinks. The discount is going to give you, the listener, a 20% discount. That's a heck of a deal. Go ahead and put that into, once again, aspiredrinks.com. That's RHAZE. You're already going to probably go buy some energy drinks. Why not buy a bulk? Buy some in bulk. Tell them Ray Hazlip sent you. All right? Okay, we are back. If you like those products, go ahead and buy them. Let's talk about products that apparently no one is buying in appreciable numbers. Xboxes. All right, Xbox. I had a whole thing I was going to type out and do, and I feel the news, particularly when this episode comes out, is a little too fresh. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to read the letter, word for word, that Asha Sharma, the new CEO, relatively new, she's been in the seat for maybe about 6 months now, I think, of now it's called the Xbox division of Microsoft. I'm going to read that letter. Once again, to reiterate, today Microsoft is laying off 4,800 people. 3,200 of those people alone are going to be in the Xbox game division. And it's not 32,000 people today. 3,200 people today. It's 3,200 people over the course of the rest of 2026 into 2027, fiscal year 2026. So as of today, it will be 1,600 people. Like today, earlier this morning, 1,600 people across the Xbox division got an email saying you are part of the people that have been laid off. And for the next for the next 6 to 8 months, 1,600 more people are going to receive an email saying, hello, you have been laid off for a number of reasons. And there were 1,600 people just at Microsoft alone, just in different sections of Microsoft, their commercial division, their server division, what have you, that were told they were laid off. Most of those I have read. I've read like 6 different articles, maybe 7 or 8 today, about the different sorts of layoffs affecting Microsoft, because that is a lot of people in tech today that have been told that they will be laid off and have compensation packages, severance packages given to them. That's a lot of people. That's a whole lot. It's not great. It's not cool. It's not fun at all. A lot of those people are, Microsoft is saying they're being laid off for AI related reasons, as AI infrastructure makes their company more agile and swift. And it's like, shut up. It's probably not. But you have to find a way to justify your bookkeeping. Real talk, they've lost about, I do believe it, since the start of 2026, their share value has dropped 23% year over year. So I don't think it's just AI. I think they're trying to get their books in order. Let's read this letter from Asha Sharma, shall we? We're just going to read it word for word, then we'll take breaks and talk about it. The subject line is called Resetting Xbox. Haha, get it? You reset a console. Really? Okay. Anyways, that's how we start. Team! We are beginning the most significant restructure in Xbox history. After careful consideration, I've made the difficult decision to reduce our team by approximately 3,200 people, 3,200, throughout fiscal year 2027. This will include approximately 1,600 role eliminations today. In addition, 4 studios will leave Xbox to new management. I'm going to pause right there. The 4 studios, by the way, are Compulsion Games, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, and I should have that other one around here. Oh yeah, Undead Labs and Arcane Leon. They're up there. People are thinking about what they're going to do with them. Undead Labs is shopping for a buyer right now. Arcane, because they are a French-based studio, they have a lot more employee protections. So there is a lot more there's a lot more that has to be done in that studio. They can't just say, I guess you're getting sold or you're going independent. It's like, no, what they're talking about and protecting those jobs. I will pause here and say there's a lot of negative that's being given out today to Microsoft. I want to give Asha Sharma some credit. She could have just killed those studios. She didn't. She could have given the order and said, yeah, those 4 studios, the ones that have not made a game that has made money or made a game that's made profit, which, by the way, were former orders from Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer, the former CEO of when it used to be called the Microsoft Games Division. They were just told, hey, take as long as you need, make sure the games are made right. We just need more games in our Game Pass portfolio. Oh, we'll talk about Game Pass later. Oh my gosh, we're going to talk about some Game Pass later. But she did not close those studios. As a matter of fact, 3 of those studios, Compulsion Games, Ninja Theory, and Double Fine, they are going independent completely. So they will be removed from the yoke of Microsoft. And you know what? Not even joking. Credit to Asha Sharma for doing that. Really. She could have killed those studios and didn't. It was probably tempting to kill those studios, but stayed her hand. And that saved jobs. That saved a lot of jobs. And that saved the legacy of those studios. So that's cool. That's awesome. I don't know what's happening with Undead Labs. I do feel for the people at Undead Labs, mostly because they haven't made a video game since 2018, and their current game, State of Decay 3, was announced that it'll come out in 2027. Everybody, I want to be very clear in this. There's a lot of changes that need to be made into the game industry. Taking 9 years to make one video game is one of the changes that needs to happen in the game industry. We can't keep doing this. We can't keep taking like near a decade to make one video game and hope that after near a decade of developing the video game, it makes all of its money back or it just breaks even. That's crazy numbers. That doesn't make sense. We won't get into the crunch down numbers of how much money that Undead Labs has probably spent trying to make one video game. That's not worth it right now. I'm sure those games are not going to be just on Game Pass. Don't worry, again, we'll get to Game Pass, but let's continue on with the letter. I recognize that a year-long restructuring creates additional challenges. Unfortunately, it is not possible to make all the changes in a single day, and I want to be direct about the scale. I know this is painful. These changes will directly affect people who have poured their creativity into building Xbox. I need to make something very aware. Pause right here. Every time the word Xbox is spelled out here, it's spelled out in the legally required way because the company's been rebranded, in that it is Xbox in all caps. So when I'm reading this, you have to imagine I'm saying Xbox because it is capital X, capital B, capital O, capital X, and it sounds entirely unprofessional in this letter about thousands of people losing their job and livelihood. Just maybe the whole company rebranding thing should have been done after the restructuring, not before it. Whatever. I don't know. Continuing with the letter. Many joined us through acquisitions, while others were recruited here and sought us out because they loved the industry and loved Xbox. Today's decisions does not reflect their talent or dedication. Okay, pause right there. Today's decision does not reflect their talent or their dedication. It does. You're saying that, but it does. You picked people to lay off. You picked studios, you picked individuals explicitly based on their talent and dedication. That's how layoffs work. You don't throw a dart at a board. I don't know. Maybe Microsoft is in such a level of disarray that they did throw a dart at the board, and that's what they came down to. I'm actually willing to believe that at this point. Why not? But that feels like it's a lie. It really does feel like a lie. Like, how many executives are being laid off right now? That's part of their talent and dedication. Let's carry on with the letter. Our business today is not healthy. You know what? Pause right there. Credit to Asha Sharma. When's the last time you heard a Microsoft CEO actually or executive actually say like, "Hey, we're effing up. It's not good right now here in our division. We're doing bad." Her saying our business today is not healthy. Ooh. I like that. I like when people are actually willing to stop putting a happy face and just say, yeah, let's get down to brass tacks. It's not looking great, and here's what we're going to do to fix it. I respect that. I really, really, really respect that. Because for literally years, Phil Spencer did the opposite. He kept saying, everything's great, everything's healthy, Microsoft, insert number here for the games division, is super profitable, everything's going fine. And then, like, Phil Spencer gets let go, or he resigns, or whatever, and then the next person takes over. It's like, oh my god, all of these books are horrible. He was just lying the whole time. Anyways, speaking of lying the whole time, let's continue this letter. We are operating at margins that are 3 to 10 times lower than comparable platform and publishing businesses. We entered Generation 9, that's the console generation, with a smaller install base and a higher cost structure. Pause right there. Wow. I am so glad that we have a CEO of a multi-trillion-dollar company that's willing to say not just the quiet part out loud, but willing to give numbers. We are operating at margins 3 to 10 times lower than comparable platform and publishing businesses. Wow. I've personally been saying this for literally years on the unscripted gaming portion of our podcast. Like, me and Josh will sometimes get into spats about it. Friendly spats, mind you, but I've been saying for a long time, like, hey, their business model actually doesn't make any sense. Why are we pretending like this is okay? It's not okay. Anyways, let's carry on with the letter because it gets to the good part. To grow, we bet on Game Pass, multi-platform, and a broader portfolio of content. While those businesses have created meaningful value, they did not grow at the pace we expected. As that happened, our core business weakened, and we added more teams, more investment, and more time, hoping for a better outcome. Now the industry is facing the most severe hardware crisis in history. We must reset Xbox. Okay, we're going to pause right there. We bet on Game Pass, multi-platform, and a broader portfolio of content. So I read a different article earlier. You know how much money Game Pass has been costing Microsoft as a business? Supposedly, Microsoft brings in something like, I think it was like $30 billion a year in Game Pass or something like that. That's probably cool. I hear that's $30 billion in profit, not revenue. But then they have to spend other bits of that money elsewhere. How much of that money is not going towards studio maintenance, towards labor, towards anything else? So yeah, you could say this one very specific line item is like, hey, this line item is just pure profit. But then it's like, okay, what about the other money you're spending? It's like, well, if you ignore all the rest of the stuff, then this right over here looks like profit. You know what I mean? This is what I mean by the books are not lining up. Also, the most severe hardware crisis in history. Dog, you're Microsoft. You're the ones trying to lead some quote-unquote AI revolution, and you're swiping up all of the hardware components to slam in the data centers. You're the problem. Like, that's not even me being kind of like snippy about it. You're the ones doing it. You don't get to blame the most severe hardware crisis in history without acknowledging you're the ones causing it. Like, they're not the only ones, but they're a large piece of that pie. They are definitely up there. Just 6 months ago, you had the CEO, Satya Nadella, saying that we have to be careful about how we integrate AI because we might lose the social permission to use the energy needed to power the data centers. Basically, he's saying people are going to get real ticked off when they see how much electricity these data centers are going to slurp up. And due to the fact that we're suffering now brownouts all up and down the eastern seaboard because of the massive amount of data centers that have been spooled up in Virginia and other places, yeah, people are not giving you the social permission to have this. Anyways, let's carry on with the letter. Let's carry on with the letter. First, we will reset our content portfolio. Since 2018, we have aggressively expanded our studio portfolio, where our number of games created each month across the industry now outpaces the last 10 years combined. Now we find ourselves competing not only with the largest publishers, but also with smaller independent studios. Pause right there. I've been saying this for years. I've been saying that the indie studios are the ones that are actually leading the revolution. I have whole separate episodes. Matter of fact, I'm adding a card right here. If you're watching a YouTube video, boop, there's a card right there at the top right now saying that, the indie studios are actually making the most money in the games industry right now because all they're doing is releasing quality games. They're not sitting here trying to sell you some sort of like weird game that may or may not, that took like 18 years to make, and they're hoping it makes 30 million units in sales. They're like, hey, look, we made this game in like a year with our friends inside of a garage and it was fun, or inside of a 1-bedroom apartment. Do you want to play it? And it's like 7 million people buy it. I'm talking specifically about like Mecha Chameleon or something like that. And they're getting their clocks cleaned by people that just want to make a solid video game. And you know what? Bless the smaller studios for that. And I'm, once again, credit to Asha Sharma. I'm glad that she goes out of her way to point out we are getting trounced by smaller independent studios. She doesn't say it that way, obviously. I read to you what she said word for word. Let's carry on with the letter, actually. She mentions it a little bit more. It is neither possible nor desirable to own every great independent studio. Pause right there. That's what Phil Spencer was trying to do. He was trying to buy up all of the small independent studios and put them under the Microsoft umbrella to increase the portfolio for Game Pass. Okay, here's what happened when he tried that. Let's carry on with the letter. We have also learned that we are not the very best home for every type of studio. In a typical year, we lost 64 cents for every dollar we invested. As we reset Xbox, we will help independent creators succeed by providing open development tools and audiences to realize their vision. Yeah, that's how much Game Pass as an industry, as a business, to their industry was costing them 64 cents for every dollar that they spent. Absolutely the most unprofitable part of their business. I know that the thing that Phil Spencer would say or would report is that Game Pass was very profitable. I'm going to be the one to say this to you, in case you didn't know it. He was lying. He was telling you a bold-faced lie. It was not profitable. Maybe he got his wording mixed up and it was producing $30 billion a year in revenue or something like that. Was it 30 billion or 3 billion? I don't know. Add a zero here or there. I know that zero makes a big difference. Don't get me wrong. But he was saying that it was a very profitable venture. It wasn't. It just absolutely wasn't. And again, huge credit to Asha Sharma for point blank pointing out, no, this wasn't working. We should not have done this. All it did was lose us 64 cents on the dollar. Every year since 2018 for 8 years. That is a money black pit. There have been several episodes of this very specific type of podcast and a couple episodes of our Unscripted Gaming podcast where I was wondering, like, when is the money fire hose of Games Pass going to turn off? Because this is clearly not sustainable. This is clearly not working. I've given you the examples I give all the time of how I would go ahead, play a Game Pass game on their a $60 game on their Game Pass service for $1 when they had it on a special. And I said, I'm not the only one doing this. This isn't sustainable. Now she's saying how unsustainable it is. That's an incredible amount of money lost. And you, for 8 years, Phil Spencer, for 7 years for Phil Spencer, he just kept shoveling money in the Game Pass, hoping that it would succeed. My gosh. I feel like I'm going insane sometimes when I see numbers like this and realizing that this division, the toy division essentially of Microsoft is just so, or at least it just was so like inept in the business space and just didn't care and hoped that it would all just work out in the end. And it's like, why did you think that? I thought this was a company that had like a much more conservative mindset when it came to like spending your money, and I guess not. Let's carry on with the letter. Compulsion Games and Double Fine Productions will return to management. Will return to management and transition to independent studios with their IP catalog and runway for the next games. Ninja Theory and Undead Labs have entered to join new ownership with funding to complete and grow Senua and State of Decay 3. In France, Arcane's management is being require consultation with its Works Council to review potential strategic options. Pause right there. Once again, much credit to Asha Sharma and her team for just not killing those studios. I can't stress that enough. There were a lot of people, myself included, that assumed that she was going to probably kill 5 studios. And she didn't. They are leaving them to their own destiny. And I think that is a much better fate than everyone in that studio being jobless and all those games being canceled. I'm going to be honest, I think they're going to be better off. I'm sure they're going to miss that Microsoft umbrella, but now you guys are going to have to actually like release good games. And I'm not saying that in a cheeky way. I'm saying that release good games in an appreciable time frame. Can't be sitting there sucking up that Microsoft money, taking 5 to 7 years to make one video game anymore. Not Double Fine Productions. Double Fine Productions has actually been, putting nose to the grindstone and releasing interesting games. So good on them. Back to the letter. We are making reductions across other units, in some cases shifting investment on other higher priority projects. These changes vary in size across Activision, Bethesda, ZeniMax, Blizzard, King, Mojang, and Xbox Game Studios. None of our first-party publicly announced games or projects are being canceled as part of these reductions. Pause right here. I have it on good authority that pretty much half of the ZeniMax Studios development team was laid off. Like the majority of this layoff affected the Bethesda ZeniMax side. Apparently, a lot of that half is like almost all of the Elder Scrolls Online team. Which, wow. One, I sometimes forget Elder Scrolls Online is a game, which doesn't matter because I'm not the target audience for it. I don't care. It's existed for a long time. It's existed for like over 10 years, definitely. I think it's easily been 8. So let's go on and continue. In addition, Mojang and King will now report directly to me. These studios have increasingly become platforms and are our largest by monthly active users. They bring critical geographic, demographic, and differentiation to Xbox. Pause. In case you don't know, that's basically the studios that make Minecraft, and King is the studio that makes Candy Crush, amongst other games. So yeah, the Minecraft studio and the Candy Crush studios are going to have your largest monthly active players. You don't say. Interesting that they want those studios to report directly to Asha Sharma, which, since apparently she's a straight shooter, maybe that's a good thing. We'll see. All right. Second, we will reset our platform. We know that great technology gets better when it gets simpler, not bigger. Today, in some parts of the company, work passes through as many as 14 layers of management. Pause right there. What the heck? What the heck? 14 layers of management. This hurts me because in one of my business classes for my grad school degree, I actually did write a little bit of paperwork and also Yeah, I had wrote something. And I lost points because I said that Microsoft was inefficient in how they operated, and that they had this weird hybrid dynamic makeup that didn't make sense for them as a studio. And yeah, I lost points on one of my tests or quizzes about that. I forget, but I always kept it in the back of my mind, wait, why did I lose points? I feel like I'm right here. They're not efficient. They've never been efficient, I don't think. Maybe they were efficient in I don't know, 1993 when they didn't have a gigantic corporation or something like that. Anyways, let's carry on with the letter. Our platform teams are 40% larger than they were at the start of this generation, even as our player base and our playtime have declined. That complexity has slowed decisions, blurred accountability, and made it harder to deliver for players. As we reset Xbox, we will simplify. We will reduce management layers to no more than 5, where possible, 3. We will deliver success through a flatter organization that is built around makers, individual contributors focused on building, player coaches, leaders who remain deeply involved in the work while developing their teams, and directly responsible individuals, DRIs, who will own key decisions and outcomes and will streamline how we work across our tools with a cleaner code base, shared services, and 50% reduced vendor spend. So, pause. I want to say while I'm reading that, now it makes sense to me how Microsoft was making such catastrophic decisions for the past, I don't know, since 2013. If you have that much bureaucracy going on in your company, nobody is talking to each other. 14 layers of management just to get anything done? Yeah, okay, that's starting to make sense. Obviously they were bloated. That's, wow. All right, anyways, let's continue on. Third, we are resetting how we operate. As Xbox grew headcount, we became more fragmented. Teams, studios, and functions often operate independently. It became harder to work towards a shared goal, make right trade-offs, and get things done. For the first time, we are establishing Chief Operating Officer with end-to-end P&L, that stands for profit and loss, responsibility across content, hardware, and platform and services. Helen Chang, I think that's Chang, has been promoted to this role and will be reporting directly to me. Over the next 2 decades at Xbox, Helen has helped build some of the most important businesses, from Xbox Live to leading Mojang and the Minecraft franchise. She will bring our business together under one operating model, make sure that we clear investment decisions, learn from our successes, failures, and hold ourselves accountable for results. Thank you, Dave McCarthy, who is retiring after 17 years with Xbox. Dave has played a defining role in building the platform that millions of players rely on every day and has been a trusted partner through many of the biggest moments in Xbox's history. We wish him all the best. Pause right there. It's kind of interesting. She just throws in this letter that, by the way, we're establishing a new role, and here's the person reporting to it. BT dubs. Dave McCarthy is retiring after 17 years. And it's like, oh. Is he retiring, or is he part of the layoffs? Goodness gracious. I guess it's cool that as part of this restructuring letter, they're mentioned, but also, yeah. All right. So cool. Helen Shang sounds like they've been around for a long time, and they're going to be the new Chief Operating Officer with end-to-end profit and loss responsibility. It's kind of interesting to me that a firm as big as Microsoft never had someone that was in charge of end-to-end profit and loss, because they probably would have... I'll get to my opinions here in a moment. Let's continue with the letter. We're almost done. These changes are about the bigger future for Xbox, not a smaller one. The next decade of gaming will be larger, more global, and more creative than anything we've seen before. This year, we'll invest as much in Xbox as we ever have, but we'll invest with greater focus, greater discipline, and greater clarity in all service of making Xbox where the world plays and creates. I want Xbox to be one of the few companies that entertains more than 1 billion people. Pause right there. What? Actually, let's continue. Let me finish the letter. More than 1 billion people each day and gives everyone the opportunity to create and connect. I know we can achieve this goal. Xbox has many beloved franchises in entertainment history, talented studios around the world. We will return to growth in 2027. History is full of companies that mistake longevity for inevitability. We will not be one of them. End letter. Go back to that. Back that up. Run that back by me. I want Xbox to be one of the few companies that entertains more than 1 billion people each day. What? How? I'm sorry, I hit my microphone, but how? How are you That's 1/8 of the entire planet. Does Microsoft hope that 1/8 of the entire planet plays a Microsoft-based video game at any given time? I don't think 1/8 of the entire planet has a Steam account, let alone an Xbox-related device. I'm at a loss for words. I think this is a lofty goal, but there's lofty goals and then there's why did you say that? Like, we all know Microsoft has, if you want to get into like the childish aspects of the quote unquote console war, Microsoft has lost it 3 to 4 times over. But they also want to say, okay. They also want somehow, some way to say that they will find 1 billion people to play their games. I don't think Nintendo has 1 billion people that play their games. I don't think they do. And that's Nintendo. Everybody knows who Mario is. Not everybody knows or cares who Master Chief is. You walk around as Mario in like almost most places of the world, they kind of get what you're going for. You walk around as Master Chief and they think like, why is that army guy wearing a bunch of armor? Right? Like there is a difference here, I feel like. If I can remind you of history, one of the biggest markets that Microsoft was never able to penetrate well into was the Japanese market. Like they tried so hard to penetrate into the Japanese market for literally most of a decade, and then finally just gave up with the Xbox Series X. They're like, yeah, that's what we'll focus on the American and European market, I guess. And once you lose a whole, hemisphere of the earth, like, hey, China, Japan, most of these other locations, Singapore, that they actually don't care. They just want whatever PlayStation is releasing. Will just be over here. Sure, yeah, there used to be a time when the Xbox 360 was such the king of the roost for when it came to gaming that most people in the United States had an Xbox 360. Yep, sure, that did happen. That was a long, long time ago, though. We are not in that era, and we might never go back. So her saying I want to have 1 billion people, that's unfortunately the most insane thing here. I want to reflect on one thing that I keep talking about. When is it that Microsoft, the games division, when is it the Xbox division is going to just say, all right, that's enough, we're killing Game Pass? It's been an albatross around their neck ever since. Like, yeah, sure, for the quote-unquote, for the clientele that use it, yeah, it's like a great deal. You know what else was a great deal while it was around? Movie Pass, when it was $10 a month for unlimited movies. Yeah, that was a great deal. All you had to do was see one movie and it paid for itself. All you have to do is play one video game a month. One brand new video game a month, and Game Pass pays for itself. in spades, one premium video game, and it pays for itself. So I don't know when it's gonna die. It's gonna die. Like reading what Asha Sharma has written in this letter, it feels apparent to me that she is going to shotgun Game Pass in the back and like double tap it to make sure it stays down. If they are actually in the business of saving money, that's what's going to happen. You can't keep laying people off and expecting to be a great studio. My friend River said, when I said, like, who in the world wants to work for Microsoft right now, if in the last like 3 years they've laid off like just about 20,000 people in headcount, who wants to work for a studio that can never stabilize their headcount? My friend River said something like the people that were laid off from other companies that are desperate for work. And it's like, that's dark, but it's true. It's absolutely true. Imagine that. Imagine that the only people you're able to hire are people so desperate. They'll say, yeah, I'll work here because I got laid off and nobody else is going to take me right now. But if you'll have me, I'll work here. Is that the same person that's going to be bringing the same dedicated creative energy to your studio? Or are they looking to make sure that they keep their head down and keep that check coming? I'm not saying that that type of cohort won't bring the creative energy, but that is a type of like, there's a difference between being hungry to be creative and being desperate to pay your bills, right? This is a type of AAA game industry collapse that has been brought on by itself. Like, no one forced this to happen. Nobody told Microsoft to go ahead and make some of the dumbest financial decisions over the course of since 2012, 2013, over the course of 14, almost 15 years. No one told them to do that. No one told them to pivot the Xbox One to be a TV-based platform, to require the Microsoft Kinect to be packaged in, which ended up costing the system an extra $100. No one told them to do Game Pass, which I have been saying for years. I feel like I'm not the only one. But I've never read a lot of people actually saying it for years, that this is a money pit. You should probably stop this, or you should tamp it down. No one said keep it going, keep buying a bunch of studios, never get a handle on those studios, and always tell people everything is great, nothing is wrong. I guess what I'm going to end this off with is going to be real interesting in a couple of weeks when I play Halo on my PlayStation 5. And my heart goes out and breaks for the people that out of nowhere are losing their job doing something that they love doing. Because video gaming, when you make video games, game development is a place of passion. You do it because you love it. Not because you want to be rich, but because you want to do something that wants to leave an impact on the world. You just want to live comfortably while doing it. That's it. That's all. I hope a bunch of really, really cool and interesting independent studios spin up from these layoffs. Because there's a lot of really good talent out there, and I don't want to see these people. And it's not even all of them. It's 1,600 today, 1,600 more over the next 6 to 8 months. I don't want to see the next 3,200 people just be like, well, we had to leave the games industry because it chewed us up and spit us out. I think that's disgusting. I think that's wrong. Anyways, yeah. That's that podcast. Hopefully, you who are listening to this have yourself a good day today. Hopefully, you have yourself a good week. I'll talk to you later. Bye.